Relive the drama and intensity of unforgettable penalty kick moments in football history. Join us as we revisit the nail-biting suspense, incredible kicks, and performances that define these iconic moments on the pitch. Number 16. Xabi Alonso, Spain versus Argentina, 2009. An absolute beauty of a top corner penalty, Spain's friendly against Argentina at the Vicente Calderón in 2009 produced this magnificent spot kick from the cool-as-a-cucumber Xabi Alonso. No goalkeeper in the world was getting close to saving it. However, this penalty for Spain was surely the best of his illustrious career. Number 15. Charles Aranguiz, Chile versus Brazil, 2014 World Cup. While this may have ultimately been a pretty meaningless penalty due to the fact Brazil won the shootout, take nothing away from the sheer quality of the strike from Chile's Charles Aranguiz. Faced up against Julio Cesar and a mountain of Brazil fans behind him, Aranguiz held his nerve and blasted the ball toward the goal. Number 14. Paul Scholes, Manchester United versus Arsenal, 2003 Community Shield. Very few players have been capable of hitting a football as cleanly as Paul Scholes, the Manchester United legend who spent his entire career at Old Trafford. The Englishman is responsible for some of the greatest goals of the Premier League era, including his wonder strikes against Bradford City and Aston Villa. Number 13. Eric Bothiak, Brisbane Roar versus Adelaide United, 2019. Quite possibly the slowest penalty ever, Eric Bothiak's curious effort was a mix of Panenka and, well, a scuff. The way in which he seemed to panic slightly as the ball rolled toward the goal suggests he may have intended to hit the ball with more power, hence why he's not further up the list. But in any case, it's still an absurd penalty, and certainly one of the most unusual we've ever seen. Could the goalkeeper have saved it, though? For some inexplicable reason, he appeared to almost give up as the ball crawled past him at a snail's pace. Number 12. Cristiano Ronaldo, Portugal versus England, 2006 World Cup. Cristiano Ronaldo, aged just 21 at the time and wearing the number 17 shirt, scored this decisive penalty for Portugal against England in the 2006 World Cup quarter-finals. The penalty itself was sensational, a slightly stuttered run-up before leathering the ball past goalkeeper Paul Robinson. However, it's also important to note what happened earlier in the match. Ronaldo was involved in an altercation with his Manchester United teammate, Wayne Rooney, who was sent off for stamping on Ricardo Carvalho. While certain players would have immediately been distracted, thinking about the repercussions of that incident ahead of his return to England, Ronaldo remained fully focused on the task in hand and celebrated wildly after firing Portugal through to their first World Cup semi-final in 40 years at the Three Lions' expense. Number 11. Aritz Aduriz, Athletic Bilbao versus Real Valladolid, 2018. One of the most casual spot kicks we've ever seen, Athletic Bilbao legend Aritz Aduriz scored a highly unusual one-step penalty while playing against Real Valladolid in 2018. The striker positioned the ball on the spot, waited for the referee's whistle, stepped his right foot back without moving his left foot, and then passed the ball into the bottom corner of the net. Number 10. Virgil van Dijk, Liverpool versus Chelsea, 2022 Carabao Cup Final. Up against Kepa Arrizabalaga, Chelsea's then goalkeeper tried his best to psych out Liverpool's talismanic defender Virgil van Dijk, who made a complete mockery of the Spaniard. Rather than standing in the middle of his goal, Kepa positioned himself closer to his right-hand post, almost willing Van Dijk to shoot into the opposite corner of the net. However, Van Dijk saw this as a challenge and proceeded to slam the ball into the same corner of the net where Kepa had positioned himself. Number 9. Joe Hart, Man City versus AS Roma, 2015. The first of two goalkeepers to make our top 10, Joe Hart took this particular penalty like a goal kick. It may have only been a pre-season friendly, but Hart still leathered the ball into the roof of the net, prompting a bang from the commentator. Maybe first on the list from now on as he looks towards his manager.
Maybe first on the list from now on as he looks towards his manager,
the commentator said, only half-jokingly. Little did Hart know then that he'd only spend one more season at his beloved Man City before being unceremoniously dumped by Pep Guardiola. Number 8. Andrea Pirlo, Italy versus England, Euro 2012. This list wouldn't be complete without a deserved mention of Andrea Pirlo's effortless Panenka for Italy against the England goalkeeper in the Euro 2012 quarter-finals. The midfield maestro took zero notice of Hart's goal line shenanigans and instead left the Englishman red-faced with an ice-cold finish. "I saw Hart was practically down on the ground already, so I tried it," Pirlo said after the match. "I didn't think about what would happen if I'd got it wrong. It was just a spontaneous thing. The nicest thing about all this was when my football colleagues complimented me for the penalty. That is always pleasing." Number 7. Djibril Cisse, Panathinaikos versus Panionios, 2010. You know a penalty is virtually perfect when it literally gets stuck in the top corner of the net. Djibril Cisse's stunning effort while playing for Panathinaikos against Panionios isn't the most famous penalty on this list, but it certainly deserves more recognition. Cisse, the former Liverpool striker who scored 9 goals in 41 games for the French national team, hammered the ball into the top corner, where it remained for a couple of seconds before dropping to the ground. Number 6. Johan Cruyff, Ajax versus Helmond Sport, 1982. Johan Cruyff possessed one of the greatest football brains of all time and bamboozled everyone back in 1982 when he combined with teammate Jesper Olsen for a now legendary pass penalty. The Dutchman placed the ball on the spot before passing it sideways. He then received the ball and converted it into an unguarded net from close range. The penalty has since been replicated on numerous occasions, with mixed success. Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez pulled it off to perfection while playing for Barcelona in 2016. But the less said about Thierry Henry and Robert Pires's woeful attempt for Arsenal in 2005, the better. Number 5. Lionel Messi, Argentina versus France, 2022 World Cup Final. The biggest penalty of Lionel Messi's career in the most important game of his life, and the legendary Argentine forward converted it in typically exquisite fashion. Who knows what would have happened, and how Messi's international career would now be viewed had he missed. Messi waited until Hugo Lloris took a small step to his left, and then rolled the ball into the back of the net. Given the extraordinary amount of pressure on his shoulders at that precise moment, it was a ridiculously cool penalty for the man widely regarded as the greatest footballer of all time. Number 4. Harry Maguire, England versus Italy, Euro 2020 final. The much-maligned Harry Maguire has never let England down. In fact, the Manchester United defender has been excellent in every major tournament he's featured in up until now. During the Euro 2020 final against Italy, Maguire famously smashed the camera in the top corner of the net with one of the most emphatic penalties you'll ever see. Up against the imposing Gianluigi Donnarumma, Maguire showed exactly why Gareth Southgate had selected him as England's second penalty taker behind Harry Kane. Number 3. Kevin Pressman, Sheffield Wednesday versus Wolves, FA Cup, 1995. The ultimate no-nonsense penalty, Kevin Pressman almost broke the net with this insanely powerful spot kick while playing for Sheffield Wednesday in an FA Cup fourth-round replay away at Wolves. The former Premier League goalkeeper rifled the very top corner of the net at frightening speed. On co-commentary duty for Sky Sports at the time, an amazed Andy Gray said, "You won't see a better penalty than that in a penalty shootout. You could have had 2 goalkeepers in there and they would have had trouble saving that." Number 2. Antonin Panenka, Czechoslovakia versus West Germany, Euro 1976 final. The inventor of the Panenka, which has become an increasingly common penalty technique in recent years, Antonin introduced his unorthodox spot kick not in some meaningless friendly, but during the Euro 1976 final against West Germany. With the scores locked at 2-2, Czechoslovakia eventually lifted the trophy after converting all 5 of their spot kicks in the final. Number 1. Zinedine Zidane, France versus Italy, 2006 World Cup final. But the best of the bunch, in our humble opinion, is Zinedine Zidane's audacious Panenka penalty for France against Italy in 2006. Why? Well, for 3 main reasons. Firstly, this was the World Cup final. Taking all of the above into consideration, Zidane's penalty has to be considered the greatest in football history. The fact the ball bounced off the underside of the crossbar and just over the line somehow makes it all the more cooler. For possessing absolute balls of steel, the legendary Zizou thoroughly deserves the number 1 spot.